So you can do,
All right.
All right. A little brief intermission there. Thanks everybody for your patience. We're going to bring our next speaker up. We are going to have a slide presentation shortly, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce Chucky Thomas. He's the author of The Light Switch to Bipolar Preacher. He does have a book that is here today. If you guys, did you bring your book today? Okay, he did bring us copies of his book. I have mine, and it's very good. Just in case you guys don't know, get you a copy. He's going to do a short presentation, and then he's going to give you some information about his new book that's coming out also. So just bear with me one moment, and as we bring forth Mr. Chucky Thomas, the Bipolar Preacher.
Good evening, afternoon. Hello. Okay. My name is Chucky Thomas, and I'm here to pretty much bring awareness, because I know this is a difficult subject. This is something that is very mysterious, and I think I understand why, because in order to understand mental illness truly, I think you have to walk in those shoes. Usually, we only resonate with things that's personal. You know, if we've been through something, it's touching because you get empowered, you get motivated because you feel it. It's personal. And I think for my research, there's not been a lot of mentally ill people who show success. They don't show empowerment in how to really cope while dealing with this issue and having a family and, you know, raising children or just being a pillar of hope. A lot of the stories are depressing. A lot of the stories you hear about murders, you hear about people going to prison or suicide, but you don't really hear about people who recovered. It's really rare. Most people who have the illness fight against it, and they don't want to accept. And that's natural because that's what I did. And that type of fight is probably the worst type of fight. And I think it's because anybody that tells you something's wrong with your mind and you need medicine for it, it doesn't make sense. It's not logical. It's not normal, because in the African American community, we have not embraced mental health. We embrace the church. We embrace Jesus and healing and what the Bible says, but we haven't really embraced what's happening to that person that's ready to kill themselves. Because sometimes they get to a place where the minister can't reach you. Amen. There's a time when people become homeless and you can't reach them no more. What's happened to that person? How can a person go from being this way one day to being totally opposite? What's happened? So right now, we're in a generation of children and the baby boomers, and we went through something with the drug epidemic that's really put us in a place, I feel, that's almost trying to wipe us out. Because people in the church, for some reason now, the children, the men, they've given up hope on the church. You see a lot of the children fatherless, angry. They want to be rappers. They don't say, I'm going to college. There used to be a time where that was a prestigious thing. Martin Luther King used to be the hero. Now the rapper is the hero. We have no leaders. We have no men. Where are our men? What happened? So I'm wondering, has mental illness, has that crept in? Because just because you're not diagnosed doesn't mean you don't have mental health issues. Just because you don't tell somebody that you're suicidal, that don't mean you don't have a problem. That just means you're not talking about it. God knows. He knows when you're crying and don't want to wake up in the morning. He knows when everything bothers you. But I feel as my journey, and I haven't talked about the book, because this book was a book written as I developed and went through major nervous breakdowns. I'm bipolar 1, I'm not 2. Type 2 is what Mariah Carey is. She doesn't have the extreme highs. She has the moderate with a lot of depression. She has more depression. A lot of women deal with depression more than men. But my bipolar diagnosis is bipolar type 1 with hallucination and paranoia. So this diagnosis was probably the most debilitating for me. One, because I guess my expectation of life was to be successful and make it out of poverty, because that's what I was. I was born in the projects, father, homeless, schizophrenic. He had mental illness. I knew I didn't want to be like him. I didn't want to be a drug dealer. I didn't want to be poor. So I wanted to be successful. That's what I wanted. That's what I strived for it. I got it, and I couldn't keep it. Because as soon as I got there, mental illness hit me. And it brought me to my knees. I thought I was intelligent. I thought I could figure out the complex things, because my mind is very creative and complex. I got an accounting degree and a master's degree. So I've always been a thinker. I play chess every day. That's all I do. My mind, I'm a thinker. So I said, I can't figure out this bipolar. The only thing I know is what I feel. That's all I know. Since bipolar is a mood disorder, it's based on emotion. So if my emotions are not right, because think about it, mood disorder. These moods are not in order. So the question is, why aren't they in order? What happened to my emotions? Why am I manic? Why can't I sleep? Why do I get all this energy? Why am I so creative? Why am I so intelligent? Is that a good thing all the time? Why am I so deep thinking? Why did I have to always be on the honors classes and AP? And why did I just have to get the 5.0 GPA? Why? So those are the questions that we don't pay attention to those issues with our children. My mother, she's a psychiatric nurse. For about 30 years, she worked on the psych ward. Man, I always wonder why she became a nurse and worked on the psych ward, considering my father's schizophrenic, and he left her, and he never got his mind back. See, when my father diagnosis came out, he never came back. Some people don't come back. They get lost. They get those hallucinations and paranoia, and they literally lose their mind. So, I said, not me. All those years on the psych ward, because I was in and out, almost every month, sometimes every 2 weeks, different medicine. I gained 100 pounds on this medicine. I stopped taking it, gave up on it, brought me to my knees because I was depressed. And I'm not a depressed person. And when I felt that depression and I wanted to kill myself, and I was a minister, I'm ordained, something ain't right. Come on. Somebody ain't telling me something, because I know too much about this Bible. Can't nobody, I done studied this Bible so much, I quote it like, but that ain't enough. Don't come quote no scripture on me and telling me about a demon and you can't get them out. Because if I got one, but please get them out. So what's happening to this church? So I start studying. I start writing. And I realized that we all dealing with the same thing. Some of us just got the diagnosis. All of us deal with mental issues. That's why they got that book, the DSMV, the Diagnostical Statistical Manual. And it has all the issues of what they consider personality disorders, mental disorders. If you read it, you might find something in there that's familiar. Now, I think that's the part we can't accept. And because the African American community is so broken, the fathers are displaced, slavery has broken us, and we've never been repaired. We've never recovered. We've been trying to survive. So whose fault is it? I don't think you could point the finger at one person. But how do you get peace with this? Because that might be the question. People might want to say, well, how did you get to a place where you are? They want one single answer. They want I stopped taking my medicine. Because they want you to say that. They want you to say, God delivered me, and that's it, and just have faith. They want to hear that. They don't want to hear that you had to use it all. They don't want to hear that you had to learn how to eat. You had to learn how to sleep. You had to learn how to have good communication skills and healthy relationships. Learn how to forgive yourself, have compassion, or learn how to relax. Learn how to control your anger. I think anger is probably the biggest issue for mentally ill people. It's a reason why you see people angry. What is causing this anger? Because most of the people in history who've had mental illnesses were so angry they were killing people. What is happening to the mind? This is a mind issue. What is making you get to that state? Because this is what mental illness happens. I've been on a psych ward so many times and heard all. And I'll be on a psych ward now with these are Vietnam vets, people who were killing people with mental illnesses, and they can't cope, and so they own drugs because they don't want to feel reality. Church is there for them to get hope, but they are not getting healed. They're not getting healed because that's on a soul level. That's your inner being. The medicine can't fix that. And if you don't have the right family members, unfortunately, that's the biggest piece to recovery. Love. Love is the biggest piece to recovery when people are mentally ill. Now, we all need love. We all have to have that. But, just because they're family don't mean they love you right. I've learned that you're going to have to learn how to put boundaries up. Let who in and who not. I'm going to tell you something, and it's probably going to blow your mind. And I'm unashamed about it. And I know that this meeting is full of women. And I'm a man, and you might think I'm biased. I'm the only child. I'm the only child of my mother and father. They have no other children. My mother's an educated woman, master's degree in mental health, work on the psych wards. She, matter of fact, she runs the place, but she has been the worst person for me. She couldn't love me as a son because I'm a patient. That was bad. Everything I do was a symptom. I couldn't be myself. So I had to swallow a lot of my pride, and I had to make a determination about putting a boundary there. And I didn't want to, but it hurt, but it was real, and it was making me sick, because now you're feeling rejected. Rejection makes anybody go crazy. Rejection makes anybody lose their mind. That's the same thing with Cain and Abel. Why Cain killed Abel? He was rejected. Why? This stuff is not new. It's there. We just don't know how to think about it. Rejection. You tell a little kid they ain't nothing, they ain't gonna be nothing, what does that do to them? That's something that'll live in their mind for the rest of their life. Treat one child better than the other, what does that do to them? They gonna fight with that for the rest of their life. 40 years old saying, Mama, why you don't love me? These are the issues we have that I feel is making us sick. This is the root of it. So the doctors don't know what causes bipolar. They don't know what causes schizophrenia. But I do know one thing. All the people I talk to, all the people that's out of their mind on the streets, bums and people in the psych ward, they almost saying the same thing. My mama, she didn't love me. My daddy, I don't know who he is. I don't have no family. Rejection. Then you get diagnosed. You get more rejection, more anger. So this is a real world. And I read this forward by my mom, and I got a presentation once it gets up, and I'm gonna show you something. But my mom wrote this, and this will just give you an idea of her guilt, her shame. And I love my mama to death, but this has been a struggle for my mother, because my mother lost my father to mental health. And when I got diagnosed, she had so much fear, she didn't know how to live. And now, aside from that, we had already had our issues. But on top of our issues, this was like worse. This was another layer. So this is so complicated. I mean, this is like a whole nother war. You know what I'm saying? So by the grace of God, we've been fighting through it. And because God gets the glory. Because this, let me tell you something. God is always in control, and God can make you stable. God can restore you. God is Him, though, not you. You are not God. I don't care how anointed, how much money, how much power, how much testimony. God is in control. And whenever your power is more than God's, He will sit you down in front of everybody. He will humble you. Because, see, this is about God. We are just His people and His vessel. So if God wants to keep you, He will. But if you get so proud and you walk around like see, this is the thing in the church. Most of the older saints don't allow the younger saints to have a voice because they know more. They've been through more. They've seen more. They don't give us a voice to speak our truth, because they look at us as being not knowledgeable, because they went through a different era. So we have a lot of issues in the church with this subject. And we have to get it right, because people suffering. People dying every day. People committing suicide every day. You understand? Kids are running away every day. People popping pain pills every day. People drinking lean every day. People smoking dope and doing lean and heroin every day. And they trying to figure out, where's the help? Where am I going to get help? Where is the help? Because those are mental issues. And when I got diagnosed, they diagnosed me with a dual diagnosis, which means mental illness and addiction, because I was addicted to gambling, because I used to like to get a lot of money. A lot of people get bipolar and get addicted to drugs and alcohol or whatever. Mine was that, and it kept me poor. As much money as I made, I couldn't keep it. So this is very complex. It's not a exact science, but it's complex. And I feel that God has put a mantle on me to be a voice. You know, do you think it's easy? This is probably the hardest thing I had to deal with in my life. And it may look like, people say to me, you don't look bipolar. You don't seem, and I look good, I look healthy, but what do I look like on the inside? Look at yourself, and you dress in that mirror and see how you look, but on the inside, what you look like. You know, what's causing you not to really feel pretty or feel like you enough when everybody else is saying that you can't feel it? So I think we all dealing with the same stuff. So here's a forward from my mother. And I want you to listen to how she wrote this. And this is from her. This is the excerpt. This is a forward. She said, as I reflect on when I was told that I was pregnant with my son, I remember feeling so happy that I would finally have someone who will love me unconditionally. Little did I know at the time that my life would be turned upside down and the love I thought I would have until the day I died would be stolen by a mental illness. I was so devastated when my son would reflect on me working too much and leaving him home alone at times when he needed me. The absence of his father was something that I accepted, but I did not realize how much it affected my son. I feel that my son has taught me so much that he has influenced my professional life as well as my personal life in a positive way. My son has given me hope that he will be able to live a good life despite the challenge he has with being bipolar. He has ups and downs, but he still tries with the help of a support system that he has revised over the 14 years of being diagnosed. I am so proud that he has created this book that can give hope to others who deal with this every day just like him. This can also give hope to family and friends to continue to support the person and not to give up on them. My son continues to be my inspiration, not only as a son, but being a good parent to his son. This could also be used as a teaching tool for students seeking health professions in which they would care for the mentally ill. Yeah, so that's my mother. She wrote that. But you could see how much she struggled with that. The love, me being alone, her being aloof, working so much, not knowing what it was like for a 5-year-old getting on a bus by himself, taking care of himself, eating, doing his homework, in her projects. She couldn't understand what I felt because she wasn't there. And it went on for years. She didn't know, why was I complaining? She thought, since I'm working so much, I'm going to school, I'm trying to provide a better living, what you tripping for? But I'm the one at home crying, like, where my family? Daddy, get on a bus. And I used to have these thoughts of my father, so I would just get on a bus and go downtown and find him eating out of garbage cans. And I would walk with him, and he would carry his Bible, and he would tell me about scriptures. And I was so confused. But that's the only Pops I knew. I took it like, shoot, that's Pops. I didn't know what mental illness was. Nobody knew I was doing that. I did that for a long time. I always knew how to find him. I don't know how, and it even happened in the military. I drove and found him again, took him back down there. I had a vision to find him, and I found him. And then I had a nervous breakdown, and that's when reality changed. But my mom, she wasn't aware of the impact of the fatherlessness, her absence. She didn't understand, because she thought I was doing okay because I was a straight A student, and I was an athlete, and I was a star. So she thought, oh, he okay. But I wasn't. I just never told nobody. I never told nobody that her sister was molesting me while she was watching me. Nobody knew that. Nobody, because it was like I was never, I don't know what I felt, but I just didn't talk about it. She didn't know. It's like I had a different world. So when I started writing, this was so difficult for her to even be in that place of writing. It was and my mom loves me so much. And I think because she's so smart and she has so much fear that she can't balance her rational mind and emotional mind. I think that emotional mind takes precedence. So I'm going to read this scripture, since this is a women's event. I found a scripture in Psalms 22, verse 9. It says, "Yet you are he who took me out of the womb. You made me hope and trust when I was on my mother's breast." And I reflected on that scripture because when a child does not get nurture, what's the effect of that? Of not getting the nurture that you're supposed to get. And that scripture is telling you that a child is supposed to learn to trust God by receiving nurture from the mother. It blew my mind, and those are one of the nuggets, because I got a lot of nuggets out of this Bible, but that was one that resonated with me. And then, as in my book, you'll see in the last chapter, I did a comparison between Jesus and Moses. And I'm going to make this brief because I'm talking too much. And I'm going to show you this. This is going to be real quick. This is a presentation. But Moses, and I hope you can see this, Moses' mom put him in a river. She left. He gets raised by the Egyptian. Jesus, he gets born. He's put in a manger and he's swaddled and protected. Two different ways of a child growing up. Jesus grows up loving. Moses grows up angry. I'm just trying to understand what causes a man to snap. Because Moses snapped when he saw what he saw. He killed that man. What made Moses kill that man? Was it because all them years he realized those people, that's my family, and these people not? Did it drive him to doing that? Because whatever it was, it made him stay in the desert for 40 years. That was traumatic for Moses. So that's just another example. So let me get to this presentation. I don't even know how to work this thing. What the heck? Is this my computer? Okay. Bear with me. Boom. Hold on. Is that okay? Because I got a video. I don't even know how it is. Okay, see this one. The video is next. Oh, this is the wrong one. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, give me a second. I'm sorry, you guys. Okay. Give me 1 second. Let's do this one. Okay, here it is. Okay. This should be fine. I'm sorry, you guys. This computer thing is very complicated for me. And I know you guys are probably having questions, and I don't mind you guys asking questions because I know that some of this stuff is very touching and it's confusing. because everybody got a different way of seeing mental health. And I've spent, like I tell people that I spend times with specialists at the VA. The people, the chief doctors, the people who run the psychiatric units across the country. And I spend times with them on all the units because they have the psych ward, they have the rehabilitation social rehab program, then they have the PRC. I deal with all of them, been through all of them, over 14 years. So when I speak on this, I'm not coming as a person who don't know. And the biggest resistance in this arena are people who have knowledge without application. Because people go to school, just like me, I got a master's in accounting and a master's in project management. So I can teach you those principles, but if I haven't showed you how to build a business because I never built one, you can't really respect me. If I can't teach you what I do and show you, so I could tell you the principles and the definition, but can I walk with you and show you how to do it? And people don't know how to take you from diagnosis to recovery. They just know how to talk at you. Oh, this is what's wrong with you. Okay, now I don't have no hope. So I think this is one of the things that I feel we all as a community need to come together because we're losing a lot of people. And when I say a lot of people, this is happening. You know how many calls I get since I've been doing this? How many houses I've been to? How many people calling me every other day talking about their 17-year-old just lost their mind and snapped. People calling me, telling me they called the police because they don't know what to do because the daughter got a knife under her bed and she ready to kill her children. Yeah, those are the real things happening. People, the other day, somebody, hey, can you talk? He's talking about his pain with his mama and he angry about why is it coming out now? What do we do with him? Everybody, I've been hearing it, and it's taken me to a place of like, whoa, why did I do this? Because it's not no support with this. If you're not showing that you're a danger to yourself and others, you don't go get help. That's how people get into the psych ward. But the families are not equipped enough to deal with it, because a lot of us just like to have behind spirituality. People like to quote scriptures all the time and let that be their measuring stick. And we do that to others, but we don't give them that application of how to deal with those emotional problems. That's what's hurting us. Emotions. I do not know why this thing is doing this, but it's on, but it's not clicking. I don't know. It's weird. See, boom, I'm gonna click that. But yeah, so I think as a community, we need to have more advocacy. Not more just theory. We need people who really living with this to come together, even people who got the knowledge. Let's show our kids and family members how to stay out of the psych ward. Because my mom's solution was always, oh, go to the hospital. That's the only thing she could say. Go. Because she couldn't deal with that emotion. And what it do with me? Angered me. Because you my mama. You know what I'm saying? So this thing is so, and I think this is the spiritual warfare that Paul talked about. You wrestle not against flesh and blood, spirits and principalities. My doctor told me, he said, Chuck, it seems like you understand the emotions now. He said, but it's one thing we as doctors don't know. We don't understand the spiritual part behind this. We don't know what's causing that part, because that's the part that's getting everybody. That's why we tell people to have hope and believe in God, because we know that it gets to a place where you hallucinate, and some of these people see people and have conversations with them. Some people watch the movie Beautiful Mind by Russell Crowe. Watch the movie about him and how he was in Harvard. This is a white man who had relationships with people who wasn't there. Have that conversation. Like, look at that movie. Read the book by K. Jameson Redfield, who is a psychologist at Johns Hopkins who's bipolar, who wrote a book on Unquiet Mind. Read that book. She's bipolar, and she tells you how it almost took her out. And she was the one teaching about mental illness. Read it. So, and she was on Oprah. And that's how I got more empowered. I read her book many times. And a lot of things she went through, I went through. So this is not just a black thing. All races and cultures deal with mental illness. But our culture, I think, is more pathological because, for one, we have no unity. For two, the church don't embrace it. So we doing this on our own. We suffering on our own. And we not suffering together. Because some ministers say, you got a demon. So now I don't even want to come to your church. You see, so we're using this spirituality as a weapon when we're supposed to be loving each other. We're using the spirituality to divide us when we're supposed to be hugging each other. But why would I hug you when you got an infection? You might get that demon on me. This is the type of stuff we doing. And we going home, and these people just wandering off, killing people, so what's happening? What's wrong? So he's going to try to, now I'm going to try to keep talking to you, because I really want y'all to see this. I really do. But I'm going to stop at one point, and I'm going to let you guys ask questions. And I did write this book. This is my poem book. It's not published yet, but it will be. And this is just a book of poems that I wrote. It was about 118 poems that describes these different moods of depression. It describes the different moods of mania. It describes the different moods of all the different erratic things, even love. Because sometimes you could be in love with somebody. When you're mentally ill, it could be so intense. It's not balanced. You ever been with somebody and they say, oh, he loves hard or she loves hard, and you throw yourself into it and you lose yourself? That's not a good thing. And a lot of people that's mentally ill do that. That's why a lot of the people that I've interviewed, a lot of their symptoms comes out because of relationships. My friend was in the Army, West Point, which is the most elite military training school in the world. Educated, got the same degrees I got, accountant degree, minister. You know why they diagnosed him with bipolar? You know what he told me? He said they diagnosed me because I lost it when my girlfriend broke up with me. What? He said after that, I couldn't function. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. That's emotion. They kicked him out because of that. Because he couldn't function because of his emotions. So, that's the area we got to focus on. Emotions. That's the difficult part. Men don't talk about it. No man usually want to show emotion. We're not taught to do that. We're not taught to say how we feel. We're not taught to relate to a woman and understand her emotions. Because it's a reason why that woman's emotional. And it's a reason why that man is angry and cheating. Everybody got a story. Your story is not bigger than theirs. We're supposed to come together and work it out. But we fighting on so many levels. So mental illness is just an exacerbation of illnesses, of conditions. But everybody in this room, I guarantee you struggle with loving people, you struggle with forgiveness, you struggle with something inside of you. We all got mental stuff. It don't got to be a diagnosis, but it's a mental health issue when you can't feel love. So I can't wait till this thing gets up, but this book will be for sale. And I wrote this poem on the back as I was dealing with the doctors at the hospital, because they wanted to take me to a process. They brought out the poem National Association or whatever. So I worked with them and I produced a poem, That's different from the poems in here, though. These poems are like so emotional. This poem is pretty much where I am now. So I wanted to give you a glimpse of it. And I'm going to read it. It's real short. I said, I used to think God wasn't the wind, but that was religion speaking again. I saw dirt, and then I got cleansed. I got scorched by the sun to burn old friends. But it really taught me about shade, that the idea of a broken heart remains. Only a drowned man needs a little air, but the loss of my expectation made life fair. I know that when I get old, my children would know my loss was gold. So mama, thank you for your best. I acknowledge you were too tired for caress. To everyone, I know I'm a butterfly, but I should have stayed a caterpillar. Sorry, I wanted to fly. So I wrote that because after you get recovered with dealing with mental illness, when you get into recovery and you strong, everybody mad at you now because you different. You're not sick as they thought. And they can't accept that newness. They can't accept that boldness and that joy, that love. So I'm gonna start this. This is a video, and it's a trailer for my book. And I'm done talking. Thank y'all for listening. Well, we almost there. I'm so sorry, y'all. I mean, I wish I was pre-prepared for this, but I thank y'all for listening. I guess until they figure it out, anybody got questions? Anybody? I'll take any question. Anybody? Yes.
I'm trying to find a way to bring this question because you mentioned that everyone has some form of mental illness.
Health issue, not illness.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My question is this. I have taken on many children in my home, my husband and I, just to steer them in the right direction. Now, one of the child came back to my home because after 18, I'm pretty much done with you. You graduate from high school, I move you on. But recently, my son brought him back to the house as an adult.
Okay.
And he said, Mom, is it okay if he stay overnight? And my biggest concern was, where is he at mentally?
Right.
Because we had some challenges.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, for tonight only. But he wound up staying maybe about a couple of weeks. And the night that he stayed, I found myself locking my bedroom door. And the reason why I locked my bedroom door is because I didn't know where he was at the moment. And come to realize, he wasn't there. He wasn't who he left my home to be.
Right.
And I told my son, I said, he has to go. It's too much for me. He didn't have his medication. He came from Vegas.
Okay.
His dad had sent for him.
Right.
And I was like, and his dad put him out the same day. So that really disturbed me. So he had nowhere to go.
Right.
And so he said, Mom, please. And so the time that he was there with us, I saw some behavior in where he needed medication. And I'm like, son, he has to go somewhere else. He can't stay here. So I was on my way to work. Mm-hmm. And as I was calling myself getting ready to pull off, he jumps in my car. Mm-hmm. He's like, Auntie, don't leave. He said, because they talking to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I didn't know how to handle that. What do you mean they talking to you? Mm-hmm. And it was like, it infuriated me because now I'm upset with my son because he's not here and he can't take him anywhere and I can't go to work.
Right.
And the bottom line, what had happened, I told my son, by tonight, take him back to his dad. I'm so sorry. We cannot help him. He needs medical attention. Mm-hmm. And to make a long story short, I found out when he took him back to his dad, he wound up on the streets. Somebody had stripped him of all his clothes, all his belongings. And they finally reached his mom back out in Vegas. It was just a sad situation.
Yeah.
He's doing somewhat okay right now,
Okay.
but I don't know if he's getting the right medication because the struggle is still real.
Yes. It is. So what's the question?
The question is this, just with the little information that I shared with you, and you've seen all these, people with different experience and what they go through, is it, is that the biggest thing, medication issue? Or is this something that he needs to be, do you sit down with him and go through psychological treatment? I don't know.
Okay.
Because I'm addressed with not just him, there's other people that has come after him.
Okay. So the answer to the question about medication, I believe is 10%.
It's just 10%?
10%.
Okay.
Education, I say, is about 60. And I think support is that 40? Well, 30. 30. Yeah,
Okay,
so
support.
you need all those things. You need, and then inside of that support and education is, your minister, your spiritual, that's important.
Okay.
Your support system, who those people are, they are important. That's probably, I'm gonna just tell you this, that's the most important. I'm gonna just tell you what from my view. See, I'm gonna tell you something. Medicine is chemical.
Yeah.
It don't solve rejection.
Okay.
That's something you get from human. Humans gotta give you that. Humans gotta give you affirmation. Humans gotta give you love. So the pill can't give you love. It gives you maybe a way of not feeling some things or balancing you a little more, but maybe taking you away from anger a little more. But the problem is there. And then when certain things happen, it triggers it and it comes out again. So you got to get to the root of that issue. The root is deliverance. We need to be delivered. We need to be free from whatever the problem that caused us to be unstable. So with him, and I don't know his situation, and I understand it's complicated and you helped him, so I can't say you did right or wrong. But what I will say is that anybody that's struggling with mental health, they need a comprehensive plan. And it does not just mean medicine. It does not just mean therapy. It does not just mean church either. It means all of it. Because if the church was the only answer, because God is the answer, but God brings people with resources. Because Luke was a doctor.
Yes, it does.
So if Luke was a doctor and he walked with Jesus, why are we fighting the doctors?
Right.
So now I'm going to play the presentation so I can hurry up and get on. Because I've been talking too long. So this is the presentation. Hopefully everything works. All right. So if you want me to stop, I'll stop. Because it ain't working. It's not working, but they trying to fix it. But if you need me to stop, let me know, because I will.
See how we are on time?
Yeah, let me know, because okay, here we go.
Yeah, I think after this we should,
After this,
bring on the next speaker.
I do.
okay.
Let me tell you a story. I was 12 years old, and I was on a back.
All right, now I'm shut up.
You know what it's like being bipolar? I do. Let me tell you a story. I was 12 years old, and I was on a basketball court playing with my uncle. We were playing one-on-one. Very competitive. I ended up winning. And I was excited. I was 12 years old. He was grown. He was in his 30s. But he told me something that devastated me. I remember it like yesterday. He said, "Why do you want to beat me so bad? You're going to be a failure, just like your father. You're going to try everything when you grow up, and it's not going to work. And you're going to snap. And you're going to lose your mind." I was like, wow. Only thing I could do is cry. I was so hurt. One, because my father, he was absent. He wasn't in my life, and I loved him so much. But he was on the streets as a bum and addicted to alcohol and drugs. So I felt like that was very emotional. And my uncle, I looked up to him. I wanted to be like him, in a sense. So coming from him, that hurt. So what do you think that did to me? As I studied the word, I found a scripture that really gave me some clarity on this. It says that the spirit of a man will sustain him in sickness, but a broken spirit, who can bear it? Who can bear something like that happening to them? What do? So what I did was, I tried to succeed. I tried to have ambition. I tried to be successful. I tried to accomplish many things. Had all the good grades, and I played all the sports, and I was always good. I felt good. I had a reputation. I dressed nice. I had all the money, beautiful women, and it didn't matter. Because one day, I started to travel on that road, being like my father. Being like my father. That is something that I fought against. In the military, that's the climax of my career. My life story and journey really hit a pinnacle and a valley at the same time. I lost my mind. In the process, I thought I found God. I was in a state of confusion. This put me in a place of having anger. I had anger. I was hurt. I couldn't have no joy. Church didn't help me. The medication was making me sick. I was frustrated. Only thing I had was my will. My will to not become like my father. And I tried. I tried not to take the medicine. I tried to ignore the doctor. I tried to lean on my pastors and what they taught me. And then in the end, I realized that I needed what God was providing for me. I needed those doctors. I needed everything that he was giving me. But I couldn't see it because I became delusional. I became delusional in my thinking. And I thought I was very intellectual. I got a master's degree. I thought I was smart. All the debating I had in. But I realized I was delusional. And that's when I started to get free. When I realized that the things that I was seeing in my mind were not all real. That's when I started to realize that health and healing is not what you think. Deliverance is not what you think. Bipolar is not what you think. Mariah Carey, she came out with her story, but she didn't tell you the intricate details. She didn't tell you what it feels like waking up wanting to kill yourself. They say depression. Yeah, but what does that mean? What's happening to you? They say manic. What is that? So that's what I did in my book. I wrote about it. I expressed it. The title of my book is Light Switch, The Bipolar Preacher. And you can find it on Amazon.com. God bless.
Okay. And real quick, because I'm about to get off, and the next speaker will be coming up. But these slides here, this is my mother and father when they were in high school on prom, and that's what my father looked like. And my mother, she was a designer, so she designed all their clothes. She was very creative, very smart person. Both grew up in the projects. So that's what my father looked like at that point before he went through his transition. This is me and my mother. She raised me by herself. That's me. I always had a serious look on my face. I don't know why. This is how she dressed me. She always dressed me like this, She made that. She always, and I think that kind of made me feel different, maybe. Here's another outfit. That's like Michael Jackson. My father impersonated Michael Jackson, so that's right in his psychosis. He was doing that. Out of nowhere, he just started impersonating Michael Jackson. This is us over the years. This is right before I had my diagnosis. This is how skinny I was. I was an athlete. You see my mom, she always extravagant. That's just her style. That's my father now. So this is his current state. He lives on the streets. I've been trying to get him help over the years, but it's so hard. Because he's so addicted to the drugs, and he just don't, and look, I got something right here. Real brief. Boom. Wait. Boom. I don't even know how to do this. Well, this was, I guess it's not going to show it. Yeah. It's like 2 minutes or something. But that's my father talking. And that'll be a good way to see what it's like being schizophrenic. Because I videotaped him talking about being homeless and how he felt about it and the reason he don't care. And he even used Bible scriptures to support it. So it's a real, I don't know if it's going to, oh, there you go. So I did, put that together just to give you an idea. And I have a YouTube page, and you can see a lot of my videos. Just put in Bipolar Preacher, and I have a page already set up. So you can see everything. I got sermons, I do music too, like gospel rap, so everything's there. But this is just the idea of what it looks like. And in his form, he was living on the streets, smoking a cigarette, and I asked him some questions. So hopefully it plays. But so yeah, it's a very complicated thing, And I think a lot of people get it. Box. So what it's like being homeless? Is it? Yeah. So you like being in the wilderness? Yeah, look. How long you been in the wilderness? You can stop it if it's too childish. All my life. It's not working. Don't worry about it. But if you want to see this video, you can go to YouTube. It's there. And you will see the in-depth video. So I'm going to go to the next slide. You go to the next one. And it's awesome. And so this is him in his current state, and it's hard to reach him. He doesn't really like taking his medicine. So this is how he was in the military. When I was in the military, I was 21. This is right when I was This is right before I got diagnosed. And I drove home, and I found him on the streets just like this. And then I took him back. I was in the military, and this is what he looked like after I cleaned him up. I took him back to South Carolina, gave him a new environment. He started talking different. Everything was different. And I don't know why, but the doctors told me that environment, support system, and medication helps people recover. So I did get a seat, and you can see he had nice clothes on, his hair braided. So these are the early signs. People ask me the questions all the time about signs. Me, I had signs when I was probably in 3rd grade. I was suicidal in my mind. I was always depressed, thinking about as a kid. I was very outspoken and I was bold, emotional about my father, my mother being busy, loneliness, only child. I was extremely intelligent, multiple interests. I was all over the place doing everything. I'm talking about everything. Grandiose. Everything in my mind was big. Everything wasn't just normal stuff. It was just, my mind was just like that. And I'm not saying that's bad, but that's just what I was. And my energy I had too much energy. They called me Sugar Rush Chuck on the basketball court because I had too much. I think I was manic for a long time. So, early signs again. Love, I fell in love. When I was young, I was falling deeply in love when I shouldn't have been. I felt superior to other people because I was so smart and so good at sports and dressed different. I felt this superior thing. A lot of people with mental illness feel that way for some reason. Look at Kanye. Kanye feels that way. I'm the best like Picasso. He thinks that. Multi-talented. Began to preach when I was 12. Then I had all types of friends. I was just everywhere. So the triggers now, when I had mentally ill, the stress, because stress can trigger your illness. That's why they tell you when you're bipolar, don't be too stressed. Don't put too much stress on yourself. Watch your stressors. Don't try to do everything because your body will shut down. Even though you're manic and you feel like you could do everything, it gets to a point where you can't do nothing. So you have to watch your stress. College, I was going to college in the military. I got married. I had a mobile car wash. My son was born. I got extremely religious, and I built a house when I was 21. When you saw my father, I was doing all that at the same time. Extreme energy, not sleeping. So those are triggers. This is my first wife. Got married to her after high school. That's who I had a child. This is my house I built in South Carolina when I was 21. That's my father after I brought him from Chicago. This is him. I had a mobile car wash business. He was working with me. So you see he was different. I got a chance to see this difference. A lot of people didn't see that. I did. This is me in the Air Force Airman of the Year. Right before I had the breakdown. This was me. So the psych ward, after that, I had to go through this. Now this is what was troubling. Energy was too much. I was euphoric. Too many visions. My discernment went high. No sleep. Crying spells. Vivid dreams. Rapid speech. Extreme spirituality. Paranoia. Mental hallucination. Irritable. Lack of concentration and lack of sleep. Depression. Suicidal thoughts. Crying spells. Anhedonia, which means you lose interest in things you found pleasurable. Losing your appetite. Stop caring for yourself. People that's mentally ill stop taking care of their physical appearance. They stop eating, they stop cleaning their clothes. You stop caring for yourself. You want relief from leaving Earth. Now you want to die. Your cognition changed. You can't even think right. You can't read a book, nothing. And then it's hard to find your joy. Then the medication side effects, you start thinking slow. You get tremors, anxious, irritable. And then everybody's different with medication. But a lot of people get angry and get confused. Now, I stopped taking my medicine and I was able to get back to this. And at this point, I believed that all I needed was God. The pastor told me not to take my meds, but that same pastor dropped dead because he didn't take his high blood pressure pills. Oh, wow. But this is how I was looking. And then after that, boom, I lose everything because I lost my wife, my son. I couldn't deal with being out the house with him. I move in back with my mom. I go back to college, start businesses. Couldn't keep a job. And then I had so much stress on me because all this stuff I built up. All these businesses, all these degrees in school, real estate, mobile car wash, stocks, gambling. And that's when the gambling became my addiction. And my son is what kept me going because I was fighting to be stable for him. But he became a trigger because I loved him so intensely. Everything his mama would do would send me to the psych ward because I'm ready to kill somebody now. Her husband, anything they say wrong to my son. Now I'm ready. Even though I shouldn't be that mad, but I couldn't help it. So that's a whole nother topic. And this is what it was like. This was my way of coping because I always had to refer to these pictures. I always had to find something to be joyful about while I was struggling. So I've been trying my best to keep him from becoming like me. So I try to give him the love. Now, I got worse after the divorce. I got so angry. My anger was so bad. I got order of protections against me, and I almost killed somebody in Las Vegas with my hands. A dude twice my size. And,
Chucky?
yeah.
Maybe we don't have to wrap it up.
Okay, I'm done now. But this is how Vegas was. That's when I lost my mind, and I captured all this. And this is the anger. So after that, I turned into this, a rapper, because now I'm angry and I'm rapping.
And then for some reason, my dad, he's talking to Michael Jackson. I'm starting to turn into Rick Ross. I'm trying to understand what the heck is going on. I mean, I'm keeping it real. And then so, anyway, it's so much to this, but I ended up doing this, preaching. I ended up poetry. So in recovery is where I am now. So that's where I'm living. This is my wife, and she's a major piece to my recovery. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. So I'm going to end it on that.
Hello, hello. All right, everybody, that was Bipolar Preacher, and his book is here. If you guys like to purchase a copy of his book, and you can also go to his website and you get more information and have any questions for him, you're welcome to go there also, and any questions, any speaking engagements or anything, you know.